No, yesterday, Act TV, Partners in Health facilitated a conversation again with Jimmy Jean Lewis, Wanda Tima, who I know of L'Union Suite. Shouts out to Wanda, Gerline Joseph, and of the Haitian Bridge Alliance, and Ancito Etienne on health and human rights in Haiti. But it was just more than that conversation as well. They had a conversation to me that spread into the realms of being a product of immigrants in the diaspora, what the negative parts, the negative connotations of being someone who's part of the diaspora, and somebody who was not only in America as an immigrant, but somebody who was in Europe as an immigrant. So that to hear those stories and how we can do better as Haitian Americans who sometimes also get it wrong in leading the conversation. So let's take a look at this first clip of Jimmy Jean Lewis talking about the diaspora.
You know, I mean, the word diaspora is something that is both negative and positive. Depends on how you look at it and where you look at it from. We can easily say that we're all from the diaspora. You know, whether you're here, Americans born here because you left your continent, Africa, whether it's Haitians living here because they leave Haiti, and yes, I am part of that group of people who was not forced, but deeply encouraged to leave Haiti for the search of a better life. Not me directly, but my parents before me and then me. And as every single Haitian living in Haiti, it seems to be the direction where everybody's going to. They all want to leave Haiti because they think that being outside of Haiti is much better than being in Haiti. So when you know that, when you know the differences between being in Haiti and outside of Haiti, then you kind of try to not only understand, sympathize with the people in Haiti, and also see how you can potentially help, you know, how you can bridge that gap between us seen as diaspora and the Haitians living in Haiti.
Yes. So yeah, it is dope. He's dope. Jimmy Jean Lewis is dope. That's what
Rebecca, real quick, before we move too fast, I do want to give a shout out to the partners. David, if you don't mind dropping that lower third so that we can show that it was facilitated by Partners in Health. And they are a Boston-based nonprofit healthcare organization. And they facilitated this yesterday. Shout out to them for pulling this together, because you have many more clips. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Yes, and not only health, the Partners in Health, which shouts out to them for real. Drop that lower third again. The Haitian Bridge Alliance, which we know Gerline Joseph is a part of, but the Barbancourt Foundation. If you guys hear me say Barbancourt a lot on here, that is our Haitian rum. That is the rum of Haiti. And they have a foundation that they also are, which they do a lot of great things for Haiti themselves, and would love to bring the Barbancourt dispensary and everything where it's made back into Haiti. So we're working on that. But and L'Union Suite is one of the go-to Haitian media, social media channels. Okay, on Instagram, on Facebook, they're the Haitian. They're the Haitian American, and shouts out to them because they've been doing this since it wasn't popular. They've been holding this conversation for Haitian Americans like me, for us to move forward, continue having the conversations, and to push out the correct narratives, not the ones that we see on where Haiti is, you know, the poorest, when we're actually the richest right. in our history, the richest in our production, what we have in our land and on our people. We are that. We are that. And we're a product of greatness out of Africa. So shouts out to L'Union Suite for holding it down, and just showing us that our Blackness isn't just a monolith. We are all types of Black, and we should be respected that way as well. So, anywho, what Jimmy Jean Lewis was talking about, and when it comes to the diaspora, there is negative connotation when it's attached to it, right? What we hear a lot of times is people from the diaspora, the Black people from the diaspora, who are products of it. A lot of our stories have been like, man, some growing pains, man, like, to get where we're at now as products of the diaspora, and being a part of it. But also when you say you are from there, a lot of people who aren't a lot of people just consider you to be, oh, she's an immigrant, he's an immigrant, that's it, you know, and they don't speak English, and go back to where you come from. We get those too. And a lot of that also goes into the system. A lot of health, a lot of jobs don't come to us. A lot of healthcare doesn't come to us. A lot of that conversation is built around being a product of immigrants, being a part of the diaspora. Also being a part of the diaspora, I will say, we don't get it right as well. Being people who are Americans or outside of Haiti, growing up outside of Haiti, we don't get it right as well. And many times we have the conversation, our information isn't correct. And that's why I say it's important for us to really reach back to our journalists and our people and our media who is on the ground to help us facilitate the conversation correctly, and to see what people actually need, and to see what the story actually is. Because sometimes we can follow the stories right here in America as well and get it wrong and think, oh, we're Haitian and we know, and get it 100% wrong. Just like when we started collecting for Haiti, and they had to tap in on the ground and say, hey, I know y'all sending this, but let's hold off on that because we can cook for ourselves. What we really need is tents. These are the things that we need. We need water purification tablets, because that's going to help us. Those are the things that, we were learning very quickly on this recent time with the story surrounding the earthquake. So that was.
But I mean, it's good that you guys are willing to. Somebody got to be able to correct you. You know what I mean? You can't, no matter how much good you're doing, you know, everybody needs a chin check every now and then. There's nothing wrong with that, because it makes you better.
Yeah. So in this next clip, I really want to play the same person, which is Jimmy Gene Lewis, who was an actor, and you guys have probably seen him in different movies. I believe he was that one movie with what's her name from the Parkers, the lead from the Parkers, and I don't know why I'm not getting her name right now. Who they tried to cancel? No, her mom.
Monique.
Monique.
Yeah,
yes, I don't know what I was thinking. But in that movie with them, and he was the love interest in that one movie with them on the island. I forget. Is it Beauty Shop?
Is this the one where
it's Fat Girls?
Okay.
Yeah, it's the one. Okay, so it's the one where the premise. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm about to say he's also in Heroes. He was the actually his name was the Haitian, if I'm not mistaken. In Heroes, and he has the ability, I think, to stop everybody's powers. Heroes is like, so it's superhero kind of like, so that was on NBC years ago. But yeah, he was one of those guys. That's where I remember him from. I saw the name, like, I know him.
And he's when we see him, we're like, he's ours. Look at us. Look at us.
That's real.
We are not just poor people that look at us. We got great things coming out of our country. So we always we'll pull him anytime we can. But in this next conversation that he had, he talks about growing up in Europe and being in Paris and going on a field trip. And this is the first time that he realized that he was Haitian.
I've been impacted by being an immigrant myself, first time where I really realized that I was not just Black, but I was also Haitian. It was going to school in Paris. I was probably 13 or 14 when there was a time where my school was going from France to England. And in that year, because of AIDS, out of all the kids that were going to England, I was the only one that was asked to do an AIDS test. So straight away, I knew I was Haitian. And with that, I'm like, okay, what am I going to do with that? Let me recognize who I am and move with that.
You guys understand, it's a 13-year-old growing up in the where racism literally just birthed itself and tried to bring itself over here. But, in Europe, and knowing that at the age of 13, you're going on a field trip as a child and an AIDS test is presented to you. An AIDS test is presented to you, the only person. And you knew back then, because we know that whole shakedown in Brooklyn when they the Haitians shook down the Brooklyn Bridge, I believe in the early 90s, late 80s, where they shook down the Brooklyn Bridge because of that conversation of Haiti having AIDS, Haiti being the product of AIDS, Haiti bringing AIDS into the U.S., Haiti being the creator of AIDS, which is such a lie, which is misinformation. But even to know that it was in other countries at the time as well. And this 13-year-old knew about that conversation and was literally the only kid to take an AIDS test just so he can go to Europe. That's the time when he said something key. Not only did I know I was black, I knew I was black, but that's when I realized I was Haitian.